So I think from an Indigenous perspective or a NER perspective is that we don't own land. We caretake it. We're stewards of land. And so it's a different concept of being responsible, accountable, and then also understanding that when Indigenous peoples have taken care of a space for thousands of years, they've learned about the environment. It's a reciprocal relationship. Taking care of the environment takes care of you. Often we say that the health of the people is a reflection of the health of our environment. And in looking at it from a colonial perspective is that Indigenous peoples in Northern California didn't have contact. Colonizers weren't here until the 1850s, around the period of the gold rush. And so their time knowing and understanding this environment is new, and they're still learning. And Indigenous peoples are still learning as well. It's a learning process, but there's also thousands of years of knowledge that's preserved in that process as well. But moving away from the idea of owning anything, but specifically in this conversation, owning land, is that instead we're responsible for it.
What I want people to know is that there have been people living on this land since time immemorial, and that doesn't mean that the land belongs to them, but more that they belong to that land. They have responsibility for that land, and I think that is the relationship to peace, or like what is the difference between like ownership and colonialism view of like ownership. And for me, it's not like I own Chapek. I don't own Chapek. I'm from there, so I have responsibility to that place. I have responsibility specifically from who my family is and the ceremony that we help facilitate there. Like I have responsibilities of what my aunt would call the medicine fire, of like what happens there, who comes there, like the prayers, like those are part of my responsibility of protecting that area, making sure that it's safe and that people would treat it with respect and know what happened.
As a land manager responsible for protecting lands and making them available to the public, I'll go into what that mission is for California State Parks. It's the protection of lands or protection of resources, cultural resources and natural resources, and then giving people an opportunity to experience those. So cultural resources, that's culture, that's what people do, that's what people do in landscapes. We think of what that Western view is of landscapes, and at the time of contact, it's to come here and control this wilderness, characterized as a wilderness, this wild place, and look at what you can get from it. It has to produce for you. So you're looking at extraction. You can extract gold from it. You can extract minerals. You can extract trees, lumber, fish, all kinds of things. Way to exploit. And usually it's over-exploitation. When you think about Indigenous lifeways, and I'm not speaking for Indigenous people, but Indigenous lifeways, and what's that philosophical approach to how do you interact with land? If you ask a Westerner, they'll talk about land rights, and they'll talk about the rights that they have. You talk to Indigenous people, and a lot of people share with me about responsibilities that they have. Responsibilities they have to care for the water, to care for the trees, to care for animals, to care for people. And that's different. When you think you have this right and something needs to be given to you, that's different than having a responsibility for caring for something or being in partnership with something. And this is what I think about when you talk about land ownership. So that was a very powerful tool that colonialism had. You come in and you typically separate people from the land that supported them through, it could be through genocide, it could be through moving people to other regions, it could be through changing cultural norms, it could be through changing laws and disenfranchising people. So Indigenous people in California weren't allowed to testify in court. So if you had impacts to Indigenous people, they had no recourse through the Western system. And you treat people as less than human. Our Constitution was founded on people of African descent being some portion of a human being. And with manifest destiny, you have to other people, and you have to think of them as less than human, and you dominate and you eliminate and you move people and you characterize people as not good human beings. I think that the views of land ownership, you dominate, you own, you have rights, you protect, versus you live in harmony with. You don't ever over-exploit.